I'm Pia from Stitches and Scraps, and this is Lunchtime Live, episode 111. For those of you who are new here, Lunchtime Live is my video newsletter, so I'll start out by telling you everything that's new at Stitches and Scraps and what's coming up next week, and then we'll finish with a quick demo of a knit or crochet stitch. For 2022, I've been doing a stitch of the week and alternating between knit stitches and crochet stitches. So this week is a knit week, and we're going to be doing the knit diagonal basket weave stitch, which I'll show you right here, which is much easier than it looks. I know it looks really complicated. It's actually super, super simple. So I will be showing that to you at the end of this session. But in the meantime, first I'm going to tell you about everything that's new at Stitches and Scraps. As I talk about these things, if you want to see them, so if I show you a pattern and you want to get to the pattern, look in the description on this video and you'll see a blog post, a link to a blog post. At that link, you'll see a list of everything I plan to talk about with all the links and all of that, so you can find anything, any of the tutorials or patterns that I'm talking about. So I'm just going to pop something really quick in the comments so that people can say hello when they come. Hi, Mary. It's good to see you. There we go. Okay, my usual comments I've put in the comments. All right, so let's jump right in and get started with the new pattern for this week, which is the clustered columns scarf. So this is my contribution to the Scarf of the Month crochet along, which is run by Rhonda from Umbaka Designs and Amy from The Stitchin' Mommy. So they each, the way this cal works is every month they do a scarf, each of them, and they have a guest designer do a scarf. And so I was the guest designer this month. So there's 3 scarves that have come out, mine, Rhonda's, and Amy's. And you can check that out. The link to the pattern is again in that blog post, and in there, I've linked to their patterns as well and to the cal information and all that kind of stuff. So check that out. And then they also do a hat of the month crochet along. And the two tie together. Good morning, Helene. How are you? So the two tie together where they have the same designer as a guest designer for the whole month for both the scarf and the hat. So this past week was the scarf, and that again is this one, the columns of clusters, or sorry, I called it clustered columns, which you can see there's these columns of cluster stitches is basically the design. And I paired that with the clustered columns hat. And this one is going to be coming out next week. I want to say on Sunday, actually. And this goes with the scarf, obviously, and you can get, so the scarf uses, I'm going to get these numbers wrong. I believe the scarf uses like 2.5-ish skeins of yarn, so you need 3 skeins of yarn for that. And the hat uses a little bit more than 1 skein of yarn. The end result is if you make both together, you can, instead of buying 3 and 2, you can actually buy 4 skeins and make the scarf and any size of the hat out of 4 skeins together. And somebody has just bought this yarn, obviously, or not obviously, but this yarn is available in the Stitches and Scraps shop. This is the tweed. I'm trying to think of the whole thing. It's chunky tweed. It's King Cole chunky tweed yarn. This is the Isle colorway, which I bought because my husband introduced me to Isle malts of Scotch, and I was like, oh, I know that word. All of the colorways are named after islands in Scotland. And so this is the Isle colorway, and somebody recently bought 4 skeins, so I only have 4 left because I only bought 12 and I used 4 for the samples, and I just sold 4. So if you want this color, hurry up and buy it right now because there's only 4 skeins left. There are a whole bunch of other colors as well, so check them all out. I really love the blue one. I think it's Sky, or Sky might be the gray one, but anyway, I really love the blue one, so check that one out. That would be beautiful for this scarf and hat as well. Any of the colors will work really well for the scarf and hat. So that's what I did this week and what's coming up for next week. Also, what I'm working on is bag number 6 in the bag along cal. It's not finished. I'm going to give you a quick peek. It's a very Christmassy one. Boop, Okay, it's a very small bag. And we're actually going to be using one of these purse frames on the bag. So it's going to be a little clutch purse, and you get one of these purse frames and you sew the bag into it after it's all finished. So the tutorials on that one, we're going to have the stitch I'm using in the bag. We're going to have embroidering onto the bag and how I'm doing the embroidery on it. And then we're going to have how to attach the purse frame. So that's going to be coming up for the November and December bags, and that materials post will come out the first week of November, which means we are wrapping up bag number 5. Remember, this is bag number 5 here. We are nearly done with this. So if you don't have your giveaway entries in yet, get your giveaway entries in. I want to say it's like less than a week before the giveaway closes. I'm not sure. It might be the 28th, but I think it's like the 25th or something. So go check, get your giveaway entries in if you haven't yet, because that is going to be closing out soon. And those are cool prizes. It was a really pretty notebook with a blue design on it and a ruler from We Crochet, which is really handy. And I think that's all I have for you as far as news. So should we just jump right into the, yes, let's just jump right into the stitch of the week. So this is diagonal basket weave, and it actually, okay, so the idea behind this stitch, what makes it work, each of these little diagonal lines is a left cross. If you're familiar with making those mini cables, the little left cross stitches, each of these is a left cross. Yes, even the ones that lean right. What makes this work is these are left crosses worked on the right side of the fabric, and these are left crosses worked on the wrong side of the fabric. So when you turn the fabric over, they lean to the right, okay? So you're always working left crosses. Like the whole thing is just a series of left crosses. And then the other thing you need to do is offset them by 1 stitch. So this cross is using these 2 stitches, but this cross is using these 2 stitches. So they're offset by 1 stitch, which gives them that kind of basket weave texture. That's it. That's the whole pattern. So let's look at how to make that. I am on a right side row, so I'm going to start with a left cross. There are multiple ways to make a left cross. If you're more comfortable using a cable needle, you can do that. Remove this stitch to a cable needle and then knit it later. But what I find the easiest way is you knit the second stitch through the back loop. See how I skipped over the first stitch? See that? I've skipped over the first stitch and I've stuck my needle into the back leg of the second stitch. And I'm going to knit that stitch. It's always a little floppier on the first one, okay? And I'm not removing that from the needle because this one's in the way. So now I'm going to come and knit that first stitch, the one that we skipped. So knitting them out of order makes them cross over each other. And then I've knit both of these, so I'm going to go ahead and drop both of them off of my needle. And that's made a left cross stitch where this stitch is crossing over this stitch. Okay, these needles are, I gotta remember the name. It's Knitter's Pride Nova Platina Cubics. I got a set years ago. They're the Cubics needles, which are the square needles, and they are the Platina, which is, I believe, nickel coated or something like that, so they're super fast. They're super slippery. I really like slippery needles, and they're also nice and pointy. So this is kind of my favorite set, actually. But these, and what size am I using? I think it's 4.5 millimeter. Yeah, 4.5 millimeter, my favorite size. So, okay, so that was one left cross. Let's do another left cross. Okay, I'm coming in between these 2 stitches, right? And I'm going into the back leg of this second stitch. Should I zoom in a little? Here. There, okay. So I've gone into the back leg of this second stitch. Now I'm going to knit that one, and make sure when you pull it out that you're not grabbing any part of this first stitch, right? You got to get around that first stitch so it's not in the way. Let's fix this blurriness. There we go. Okay, so I've knit that second stitch. Now I'm going to knit the first stitch. So I bring my needle through the first stitch and knit it just like I would normally. And then I've worked both of these stitches, so now I can drop both of them. Make sure you drop both. I missed that a couple times and it really screws you up. Okay, so let's do that again. I'm knitting through the back leg of the second stitch. I'm being careful when I do that not to pick up any part of the first stitch as I pull that loop through. And then I'm knitting the first stitch and not splitting the yarn, hopefully. There we go. And then I'm throwing both of those stitches off of my needle. So I'm going to do a couple more really fast here. Okay, and now I'm left with one stitch. So I've knit these off in pairs and I'm left with one because I started with an odd number of stitches because this one extra stitch is what offsets everything. So I'm just going to knit this last stitch. And now notice that the last cross I made was made with these two stitches. When we turn, we're going to start with a cross right away. So that's going to be these two stitches. And that's what's going to make it offset. So I see a comment. Let's see. They are very comfortable, Mary. I love them. And also the fact that they're square makes it easier to get your needle into the stitches because the stitches sit off of them a little bit at the edges of the square. It's like hard to describe, but it's putting a square peg into a round loop and that leaves gaps on the side. So it makes it easier to work with. Okay, so wrong side. The wrong side of this doesn't look like much of anything, right? See, it's not anything fancy. So this is definitely not a reversible stitch. The wrong side is done in purls, so we're bringing the needle up behind the yarn or bringing the yarn in front of the needle. And then we're going to do purl crosses. So I'm going to go into the second stitch and purl it. Not in the back leg or anything, just a normal purl, okay? And again, I want to be careful that I'm not snagging that first stitch when I come out. It takes a little practice, all right? Then I go into the first stitch and I purl that one. The first pair is always a little bit floppy. There we go. Now we go into the next one. Purl into the second stitch. And purl into the first stitch. Okay, and then throw both of these off of your needle. Purl into the second stitch. Purl into the first stitch. And throw both of them off your needle. And we just keep doing that all the way across. And then again, we'll be left with one stitch at the end, which we're going to knit. And there's my one stitch left at the end, which I'm going to knit. So now when I turn it over, you can see that the stitches we just made lean to the right and the stitches, oh, did I throw a yarn over in there? No, I didn't. Okay. The stitches we just made lean to the right and the stitches from the previous row lean to the left, and that's what gives us our basket weave texture. Now I have been starting with my crosses and ending with the odd stitch out, right? You can also start with a knit stitch and then do your pairs all the way across, and then start the next row with a knit stitch and then do your pairs all the way across. And that might make your first stitch a little bit easier because you're not working in the very first cross, right? So that's another option. You also can play with what you do on the edge stitches if you want a different look to your edge. You could always knit on the right side and always purl on the wrong side, or you could alternate, you know, you don't, that extra stitch, you can really do whatever you want with that. The only reason that is there is to offset your rows. If you're working this in the round, you're going to have one extra stitch somewhere or one fewer stitch somewhere and then start your round back a stitch, right? You're going to have to, the first stitch of your round will keep moving because when you have that one stitch left over, you're going to use that for the next cross. So you kind of keep going around in pairs of 2, but you have an odd number, so it keeps shifting. And that would be how I would do it in the round. But I like this stitch. It's really neat. And it's easy to make because if you just do left crosses, that's it. Just always left crosses. So that is diagonal basket weave. Any questions on that? Or on the needles? The needles are actually really cool. I like these needles. Do you want a sneak peek at the next giveaway prizes for the next bag? I can show you a sneak peek. It'll make it less exciting next week, but I'll show you because I really like these. I saved these for last because I really like them. So this is the hand cream. Okay, so that you get a 4-ounce jar of hand cream, which is really cool. And this really cute bag that says coffee, crochet, sleep, repeat. I love that one. And the last prize, my favorite one, is this little alpaca. Look at how cute this is. So the cool part about this is they take the mill ends, so the bits of yarn that don't make it into the skeins, the little trimmings, they take that and they make it into this felted alpaca. And then this one is actually hand dyed, I believe. But yeah, they have them on the site. So if you like them, you can go check them out on We Crochet. But those are going to be the prizes for bag number 6 starting in November. So not yet, but that was just a sneak peek. And that is all I have for you this week. So if there are no questions, I will just say have a wonderful weekend and I'll see you next week. Bye.